Okay, so we're going to have a look in understanding index notation. So we'll start off with some easy ones. 2 squared is the same as 2 times 2. 4 cubed, 4 to the power of 3 means 4 multiplied by itself, which is squared, and then times 4 again, which is cubed. So this is another way of writing it. And 5 to the 5 would mean 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So the golden rule for this kind of work is going to be, if in doubt, write it out. So a GCSE question could be simplify 2 squared times 2 to the power of 3, leaving your answer in index form. So it's saying index form with the indices, so with the power. So if in doubt, write it out. So 2 squared is 2 times 2, and then that's being multiplied by 2 to the power of 3, which is 2 times 2 times 2. So we want to see how many times 2 has been times by itself. So we've got it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So it's the same as 2 to the power of 5. Likewise, if the question was 5 to the power of 3 times 5 to the power of 4, you'd just be patient and write it out. So it's 5 times 5 times 5, that's the cubed, times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and that's 5 to the 4. Counting how many there are: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5 to the power of 7. Okay, so we're going to use the same approach this time for divide. So 6 to the power of 4, this first part means 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. And that's being divided by, remember, we can change the way we do it. Division and fraction can be used interchangeably. Divided by 6 times 6. So it's much easier to do it this way because you can see it as equivalent fractions. Now, as we look at it then, we've got factors in common, so we can divide by 6 to start with, and divide by 6. That's going to leave us with just 6 times 6 times 6 on the top, and then just 6 on the bottom. And then, as we can still see, there is still a factor of 6 in both top and bottom, so we can continue that process on and divide by 6 again. So dividing by 6, 6 divided by 6 is 1, so I'm just going to put that there for now. And then dividing by 6 on the top will leave you with just 6 times 6. Anything divided by 1 has no effect. So here we are left with just 6 times 6, which is 6 squared. So that would be your end answer for this question. We'll do another one. The question could be 2 to the power of 5 divided by 2 to the power of 3. Follow the same process. So 2 to the power of 5 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's 5 of them. Divided by 2 times 2 times 2. Now, if you look at what they've got in common, 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2, which means you can divide by 2 3 times. So you can show it with full working out. Divide by 2 would be 2 times 2 on the bottom, and there'd still be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 on the top. Divide by 2 again, divide by 2 again. You'll be left with just 2 on the bottom and 2 times 2 times 2. And then one last one. Divided by 2. You'll be left with just the 1 on the bottom and 2 times 2, giving your answer as 2 to the power of 2, which is 2 squared. But going back to what we said on that last one there, if we look at it as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 5 of them, divided by 2 times 2 times 2, you can see that that's what they've got in common, 2 times 2 times 2. Feel free to do that in one go, 2 times 2 times 2, and you know you'll be left with 1. They're going to cancel, and you'll be left with 2 times 2 on the top. Same answer, 2 squared. Okay, you could also be asked a question like this, which is 2 squared, and then in brackets, the power of 3. Now, first things first, let's focus on what's inside the bracket. we know that that means 2 squared means 2 times 2. So that's what's inside the bracket. And now it's asking that to be cubed. If you think about what cubed means, it means, in another scenario, let's do it at the top, if I was to do 3 cubed, technically I can put that 3 in brackets, which means whatever's in the brackets I'm doing 3 times 3 times 3. So going back to this question, whatever's inside the brackets, that's the 2 times 2, and that needs to be cubed. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if we look at how many times that appears, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 to the power of 6. Okay, so we'll have a look at another one. The question could be 6 to the power of 4 squared. So what's inside the bracket, 6 to the power of 4 means 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. That's 6 to the power of 4. Now what's inside the bracket is supposed to be squared, so that's what's inside the bracket and that needs to be squared, so multiply by itself, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So I've got 4 in the first bracket, 4 in the second bracket, which means I've got 6 to the power of 8. Finally then we'll have a quick look at what works with number or works with algebra. So use all 3 operations. If we had a squared times a to the 3, that would be a times a times a times a times a. That's a squared times a cubed, which is a to the power of 5. Division, a to the power of 4 divided by a to the power of 3. We've got a times a times a times a divided by a times a times a. There's a cubed common to both, so I'm going to divide by a times a times a. I'll be left with 1 on the bottom. Do the same to the top and you'll be left with a there. So that's going to be just a on its own, which could be wrote as a to the power of 1. And then finally, if we look at a to the power of 3 cubed, that would be inside the bracket a times a times a, that's a cubed, and that would then have to be cubed. So then have a times a times a again, and one last time. And altogether there's 3 in the first, 3 in the second and 3 in the last, giving us a to the power of 9. There you go, what works and what works with algebra.